So Sonia is not in this story, but another artwork. Sonia escaped from Russia to England, and the story that my mom has told me is that she worked in a cigarette factory where the boss was kind of a lech, and she led the women in rebelling against him and then had to escape from there because it was, I guess, dangerous to stick up for yourself. So I think if anyone was dabbling in women's herbalism, it was Sonia. And Melinda in the audience, remember when we did a parade on Governor's Island last year?
I did.
Yes, I had this on my head. So it doubles as a, you're in a parade and you need to put you need to represent the plants grown on Governor's Island. But the different pages have the different colloquial and scientific. I should qualify that there are coming to be more and more discussions about the Latin names for plants and how they can be culturally biased. So that's partly why I like also adding in the different common names that people use, because that tells us who's using the plant and how they relate to it culturally. The idea was, well, how do we protect ourselves, right? And I mean, originally it was supposed to land here, but it landing around my uterus actually kind of makes more sense, honestly. And it does, oops, gotta reverse that. It does flip where, imagine your sandwich board. It flips around like that. Oh, I deliberately made this trippy because I was talking about herbs that make you bleed. I mean, hey, I didn't use menstrual blood, which artists have been known to do. It really put us over the edge on this project. And then there's one last page. So that's this book. Also, having it on your back is like a burden that you carry. And I think all of that metaphor is important to this piece. But I think it's important to this conversation that none of us should be burdened with going through any of this alone. And none of us should be struggling to have access to this information if we want it, if this is our choice of how to manage our health. Has a bunch of different dye methods. A lot of this was ink that was actually painted onto silk and cotton. There is a little pomegranate peel in here. Sometimes what happens is I work backwards where I'm teaching a dyeing class. I pick up some material that I know, like a plant that I know has dye capacity, and then I look it up from an herbalism perspective. And that's when I realize, oh, it does all these other things too. That makes sense. It's like both sides of looking at the plant. I'm basically a textile artist at heart, an embroiderer. That was kind of like my first medium. So this does talk about different reproductive plants, and sometimes the information is on top, but often it's underneath, so you would have to come flip it. And I picture it being installed like wall hung, where people would come up and look at the undersides. In a funny way, it has like a children's pop-up feeling, even though the content is not really what I would give a child.
It's so pretty.